It's round 4 of the Hi-Tec Drift All-Star Series. We're back on the figure 8 and things are set to get sideways. Chad Naylon joined once again by Dave Carter. And Dave, the championship absolutely well and truly alive.
Pointing end of the field, only a couple of points between them. I mean, the guys going into this round and the whole series really have been throwing everything they've got at this little figure 8 circuit where it all began all those years ago for the Hi-Tec Drift All-Stars. And I mean, it's anyone's game tonight. And looking at the ladder now, I mean, Gavin Edwards and Daniel Christick even are only separated by a little bit with James Abbott above them. But the top 3 is where we're really looking. Scott Shembry lagging a little bit behind, but Bo the Show Yates and Brad Toohey out in front by a single point.
Yes, it's very tight at the top, and our pit reporter Becky Lamb is caught up with the top 3.
Brad Toohey, you are leading the championship by 1 point coming into this weekend, but it is an absolute battle of the 86s.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's great to see two Toyota 86s in first and second place there with Bo Yates 1 point behind me. We've also got Scott Shembry as well, 30 points behind, and he's the reigning champion, so not to discount him as well.
You've been absolutely dominating the figure 8 tracks this year as well. Talk us through the setup of the car.
I just got a twin supercharged V8 under the bonnet, which is plenty of power, wires fab for the steering, Achilles tyres on the back, so that's the secret, I think.
Have you got any major changes coming into this round?
Probably the only change is I've gone back to electric steering. I made a bit of a misstep for another one-off event. I went to a hydraulic and yeah, that didn't turn out so well. So I've gone back to what's tried and proven, so hoping for a great result tonight.
Bo Yates, you're trailing the championship by 1 point this season to Brad Toohey. How's the car going leading up into round 4?
The figure 8, it doesn't really lend itself to changes too much. You know, the boys at Hype-Tune do a fantastic job to present this car, and I know it will be strong again tonight, and hopefully we can have a good result.
How many points do you think you can lead by tonight?
I'm not going to say because I'll probably put the mock on myself, but it'd be nice to qualify first and finish first and take a full 107 from this round, but we'll just see what happens.
Scott Shembry, the 2015 champion, third in the current championship. What are we going to do to better that podium step this weekend?
Well, I don't really get a championship too easy. Yeah, I got some killer drivers ahead of me, Brad and Bo. Obviously, they're always thereabouts. So, you know, I'm going to come out and give it my all. So, this is my car's second last event ever, because after this year, that car will be retired. I've had a couple of hard hits, and I've been driving it for 8 years now. So, on to better things next year. So, I want to give that car a good send-off, and I'll be pushing hard and see if we can write the thing off.
Time to check out some of our qualifying highlights here ahead of the top 32 battles, Hi-Tec Drift All-Stars, round number 4. And in particular, we're going to focus on the top 3, and it's a bit of a different looking top 3. This man in particular, how good is this, Dave? Joel Goff pulling out his best ever qualifying performance.
Yeah, what a noise that car makes as well. I mean, that F15 is absolutely singing through the short and tight curves of the figure 8 circuit, but Joel Goff just had it absolutely dialed. Not enough to pip Brad Toohey, though, coming in as second qualifier, really using all of that outside sweeper and nice and tidy through the switchbacks there. Up on top was Rob Arbolino, absolutely cooking in that Hi-Tec Oils 350Z. Rob's been stoked to have a drive of this thing all season. Let's hear from him in the pit.
Rob Arbolino, a massive qualifying session, holding you out into P1. Must feel pretty good.
It does. Yeah, that's the first time I qualified first in this car, and to be able to give it to the team and everyone that does all the work on the car and my sponsors and stuff like that, it's awesome. It definitely.
So top 32 now, possibly even a bye into the top 16, looking quite good for the finals.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I should be getting a bye into the top 16, and I guess all we can do is work our way down the order, and hopefully we come out on the top step at the end of the night as well.
It's a pro-looking outfit, and he is on the money tonight. Rob Arbolino, how far will he go in the battles? Top 32, we'll see Rob Arbolino out there on a bye run, but we're going to check out some highlights of some of the bigger battles, including this one. Brock Stevenson leading the way, Greg Merriman doing the chasing, and this one, Dave, was tight.
Yeah, Brock Stevenson might be a new name to this series, but the real story here is Greg Merriman. Now, you might know him from that beautiful white Australian Drift Club S14, but this is a very different car here. Actually having issues getting that car prepared for this event, and through the week, asking a friend of his whether or not he could borrow a vehicle, and it popped up on Facebook. That is a street-driven daily driver, pretty much stock S14 with a set of coilovers in it, but Merriman absolutely knew how to work it. Stevenson getting the advantage in the first run there, but Merriman really putting some speed on through these centre sections. I mean, obviously trying not to get too close in the chase considering it's a daily driven street car, but out in the front, he's out there and going, look at the flames out of this thing.
Unbelievable, with the number plate still on it, clawed back that advantage and earned himself a rerun. So that was a huge effort from Greg Merriman to even just level it first time out. But he didn't just level it, he went one better next time round.
Yeah, a bit of a bobble there on the entry coming into that sweeper. Couple of points deducted there, but through the rest of the run, Merriman just really nicely emulating Stevenson in front, staying nice and close, even through that bottom straight that's really hard to pull off without a switchback with that low level of power. Again, balking the entry a little bit, but when they switched around again, the judges could not separate them. So for the first battle of the night, we got a double rerun, Chad.
Yeah, we love a rerun because we know we're seeing two very evenly matched competitors. And after no advantage again, we saw them go around. This time, Merriman finally getting the nod in that street registered distance, which is just a huge effort.
Look at it go, hey, like absolutely rocketing away, big flames out the exhaust. This could be any other drift night here on the figure eight, seeing a lot of street cars going door to door, and it's something you can try yourself if you're interested, obviously with a little less smoke and speed than the big boys.
Qualified down in 17th, earned that one marching on through. Benny Meir leading the way, Al Sharka chasing in that RX-8. Hitachi on the bonnet, Hi-Tec on the doors.
Yeah, Alex there right behind trying to chase Benny Meir, but that S14 very, very quick, and it just looks like the RX-8 is just that one step behind each switchback. Ben Meir is already facing a different direction, but a big straighten up there from Ben Meir. That's been enough to tip the advantage in the favour of Alex Sharka, who rides that high line up through the sweeper as well. Better drive in the second half of that from Sharka.
Sharka out front, leading the way. So everyone gets a chance to lead and chase in the one battle. Brake lights on the front, always a good sign for the judges to let them know what the drivers are doing and how they're working. Sharka with that advantage originally, and Meir absolutely working him, so much so that he overturned that advantage.
Real close chase from Benny Meir, and when he turns it on, he is a fantastic chase driver. And I think just that little wheel drop as well at the bottom of the course hurt Sharka's chances there. Another battle now, Mitch Sanders out in front of Steve Cerrone. And man, has Cerrone been killing it this season as a relatively new name in there as well, but Mitch Sanders in that big, big power RB26 S15, look at it rocket up the straight, put a bit of a gap on, but I think the reason the judges have tilted a bit towards Cerrone is as much as he was down on power a little bit, he got to that outside line there, and where he could, he really gained that distance back on Sanders, so much so that he was chasing nice and closely across the line and got a bit of a love tap when Sanders swung it back.
Can't get much closer than that. I think that tap was just after the finish line, meaning that judges stopped scoring from that point on. Cerrone out front, and that was a wicked chase run, absolutely hounding the door, had the advantage, converted that through to a win, and unfortunately for Mitch Sanders, put on the trailer in the top 32 battles.
Seems to be that bottom straight tonight, at least early on, where some of these battles are decided. Mitch Sanders, as he came through there, just having a little bit of an understeer and having to reinitiate, and that's enough to give the advantage to Cerrone. Scott Porter out in front now of Nathan Weissel.
Scott Porter, one of the stars of round three, really turned it on, trying to be a bit of a giant slayer. Some say he was even harshly done by not to progress up through the rounds that night. And he'll be hungry at round four, picking up a fairly easy advantage this time. That's a tough chase run.
Yeah, Nathan Weissel just struggling to get a bit of distance there on the chase, and Scotty Porter coming in hot on his chase run. Couple of issues there for Nathan, who is actually a veteran of the sport, been drifting for many, many years now. So it's good to see this car come out after a bit of a hiatus, at least in New South Wales drifting. But a spin there from Scott Porter, despite the earlier mistakes from Nathan, giving him the advantage this time round.
It's one of those surprise ones that just pops up. You think you've got it sorted. The back end gets away from Scott Porter, and he had that in the bag, so he will go home extremely disappointed. Dylan Roberts leading the way from Tom Eastdown.
Man, the battle of the 33s. Dylan out in front in that four-door with, I think it makes somewhere in the mid 400 kilowatt region, that RB25, and what a noise it makes.
Singing out into the air in Western Sydney, under lights at the figure eight, and that was advantage Roberts that time through. How do you like your entries? That is a big chase run. Close proximity on the way in.
Mega angry there from Dylan, just snapped straight out to lock, and I don't think he expected the 33 coupe in front of him to just be that little bit slower on the entry, but look at him go on that chase.
Dylan Roberts converting that advantage from the lead run into a win on the chase. A little bit more cautious that time through the top turn.
One of the few drivers, though, to keep that direction the whole way up the straight. Instead of having a little switchback, he just power skidded and blazed the whole way up the straight into the sweeper, riding on board with Glenn Atkins now.
You could not get to any more different cars in the drift world than this. Glenn Atkins with his hands full in the RX-7, that thing not playing the game.
Funnily enough, though, both of these cars actually having a 13B rotary under the bonnet. That little Corolla out the front there has this big Weber carby hanging off the side of an asthmatic little rotary, but man, when it gets up in the revs, it cooks, leaving what would be in the mid 200 to maybe low 300 kilowatt region Glenn Atkins RX-7. This little rotary, they'll be lucky to make over 100, just doing it, absolutely going for it. Good on you, Glenn.
Yeah, can drive the wheels off it. This time, Glenn Atkins trying to build something of a lead there out front, knowing that he had a lot of work to do. Gave a pretty big advantage away. And for Ormerod, well, he just had to stay out of trouble, learn from what happened to Scott Porter that time through, and advance in the battle of the Glens. Warwick Hill leading the way ahead of Mitch Cole. Love seeing the BMW out there.
Big JZ under the bonnet as well. I mean, his brother as well, both of them running JZ motors under the bonnets of very different cars. This BMW, how well presented is it?
Absolutely howling as well. Taking the advantage through. Too many drivers getting an advantage while chasing tonight. Very difficult task around the tiny figure eight.
And for anyone wondering where Matty Hill is tonight, he's actually drifting all over the world at the moment. I believe the car that we saw in the Hi-Tec series, staying over there for a bit of D1NZ. But now for the drifting at hand.
Big angle out the windscreen. Hill having to be a little bit patient there. And converting his way through to the win as well. So had the advantage.
Mitch Cole, unfortunately, on the trailer.
Made it count, so Warwick Hill moving on through to the top 16. And this is how your top 16 looks now, with quite a few drivers progressing via the bye system. Some big names featuring and trying to make their way through to the top 8. Alrighty, we need a quick break here from Sydney Motorsport Park, but don't go anywhere. The Hi-Tec Drift All-Stars will return on the other side of this. Time to smoke it up here tonight. Under lights at the figure eight. It's the Hi-Tec Drift All-Stars round 4. Getting closer and closer to the business end. This is the top 16. That is Ant Billick. We're riding on board with him there. Let's see if he can find his way through to the top 8.
Mitch Jeffrey in that JZ powered S13. Billick, bit of a purist, keeping the SR20 under the bonnet, but the battle of the S13s is underway. Billick seems to have the speed early on. Will Jeffrey be able to close it up through the middle section here? I mean, just a couple of steps behind there. And look at Billick just rocket away around the outside there, up onto the straight. Billick is possessed. Look at the speed he's got tonight.
Almost too much wheel spin for Mitch Jeffrey coming out of the bottom turn. Like he was standing still, you could just see Billick disappearing. Exactly what we mean. Quick that Billick car gets out of the corners, and as a result, it's advantage Billick at the moment. Can Mitch Jeffrey turn that around when it's his chance out in front?
It's a little bit different as well, you know. Yeah, right there you see Billick rocket away, but normally it's Jeffrey who has that speed advantage, and especially in the chase, we've seen really well dialed, not conservative, but, you know, really getting on people, keeping that shallow angle to really put the pace on. So I don't know if it's a thoughtful change of driving style tonight, because Jeffrey really is pumping on a lot more lock and speed tonight, but Billick's just right there with him. That car's really got some speed under it now.
Number 6 qualifier, Ant Billick, on the chase here. Absolutely hounding the doors off Mitch Jeffrey. Surely with the advantage he had, he'll be marching on through to the top 8. That is up there with the best we've seen him drive in the Hi-Tec Drift All-Star Series.
Watch him dive in here through the sweeper. He takes a little bit of a shallow line, but just to tuck right in there on the driver's door. Jeffrey had to know he was there. Coming through the switchbacks, he's just all over that wheel, nice and smooth. And then this bottom straight here is really where it's all make or break. Unless you open up a gap there, the chase car will be behind you entering into the sweeper, and it's all over.
Let's hear from our winner with Becky on the way out of the figure 8.
Anthony Billick, the guys in the commentary box really want to know how you feel about that one.
It's all about getting the heart pumping. You know, I came here to battle hard. I want to get that number 1 spot. It's been a while. Thanks to all my supporters and my sponsors. Couldn't do it without them. Let's bring it on.
He's looking good, but I think the New South Wales Police Force want that helmet back at some point. Let's move on. Rob White and Dylan Roberts.
Battle of the beautiful sounding cars. NASCAR motor in that 370Z, 400 kilowatt RB25 in the 33. Let's have a listen.
It's not gone to plan for Dylan Roberts.
All of the revs there out of Rob White's car, though. That's got to be into, what, 5 figures, nearly up around 10 grand there. But Roberts completely immobile, not quite sure what's happened here, but then he's underway again.
He got himself in a bind during the switchback on the figure 8. Just watch it here. Let's see if we can pick what caused it. Oh, the back end really snapped around on him. Almost got hooked up there as well on that mount, so it just took him a second to find reverse and get out of there. But you're right, wow, the Achilles Nissan up high in the rev range. Pretty much a foregone conclusion from here. Rob White would need to score a 0. Pretty much needs to give it away altogether. Look at the angle on the front end for Dylan Roberts there.
Yeah, he's really angry on the entries into this sweeper and through the middle section. So without that mistake, I mean, I wonder if there would have been any separation. Rob White is right there with him, but let's see him go onto the straight. Ooh, lots of smoke, and Dylan actually putting a bit of gap on there, but then straight into that gear down, a little bit of a handbrake and then big clutch dump, and Rob was right there with him. And I guess that's the difference between an NA motor just being able to feather it in there in a high gear, and the turbo guys really having to pick their gear selection to try and get enough wheel speed through the sweeper and not bog down.
Took a pretty shallow line, not so much shallow angle, but shallow line through that switchback. And again there through the middle of the bottom corner, but there was no doubting that Rob White was going to win that one, given the advantage he picked up when Roberts spun around. So unlucky for Dylan Roberts.
Tell you what though, I'm really liking that line that Roberts took of cutting through that bottom sweeper and getting a single without a switchback up the front straight. We've seen Bo Yates do that in previous rounds as well. Anyway, on to James Abbott out in front of Warwick Hill. 2 JZ cars in non-Toyota chassis. That Blaze Unit S15 out in front, and the BMW of Warwick Hill that we're riding on board with now. What a noise that thing makes as well.
It was right on the limiter though, and couldn't keep it onto that rear quarter panel of James Abbott up the hill. Abbott, a former champion from a couple seasons ago. See it clearly from the onboard as Abbott takes the advantage. Past the switchback down towards the bottom corner. Watch the shift lights flash here, and Abbott just disappears up the hill.
Yeah, possibly just needed to grab another gear there, and I'd say if we were riding on board with Jabbett, we would have seen him do exactly that, because wheel speed is crucial up one of those long straights there, especially when you're trying to extend the drift. So you've really got the choice between going up a gear and really gaining that speed and going onwards, or staying in the gear you're in, maybe a little bit of a dab of handbrake. You'll still keep the car out and sideways, but you won't get that road speed that you're looking for, and what we saw Jabbett rocket away.
Let's see what he goes for here. Again, you can see the shift light flashing from James Abbott's on board through the window of Warwick Hill. So still sticking with that lower gear. Oh, Jabbett's close to the door through the top. Big chase run from a former champ. And Warwick Hill will be putting the BMW on the trailer, you'd think. Here comes, yes, confirmation from the judges on the Achilles radial replay. All over Red Rover for the BMW.
I'll tell you what though, Jabbett was pretty lucky to get that one, because as much as he was the quicker driver out in the lead, and he did nail a lot of the chase run, there were a few mistakes there from the front car being a bit slower. Anyway, let's go hear from him in the pits.
James Abbott, you have just made the first top 8. Well done.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Battling Warwick, I've done a bit of driving with him when we were in Japan together. Sort of know his style, and to be honest, I was a bit worried there. I thought he outclassed me for a second there, but managed to obviously do just enough to get through.
James Abbott trying to progress up from our number 8 qualifier, locks himself into the top 8, and championship contender out on the circuit right now. That Toyota 86 looking sweet.
Tell you what, I'm really liking the new look of that Hypertune 86 with Bo Yates in the wheel. Those rotiform wheels on there are just something completely different to what you really see in Australia. This big 3-piece mesh thing that really does it for me, but pretty hard to see them when they're spinning at what is probably the top of 4th gear, pouring smoke off the back, while Nathan Weissel just does his best to hold on and keep up.
Unusually low in the qualifying performance today for Bo Yates down in P4. He's so used to seeing him usually first, if not inside the top 3, but big advantage here. Weissel couldn't quite keep up with that extremely powerful 2J power coming through under the bonnet of that 86.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the only car over 500 kilowatt in the series, which is just a number that doesn't even sound real, does it?
I don't know how he shoehorned it in there. It took him a while. Slept in his workshop multiple nights. Oh, that's awkward for Weissel. Yates did a good job to miss him. Experience coming to the fore there.
And that is exactly the type of moment that really demonstrates the experience of Bo Yates. Not only did he initiate hard behind a car that was obviously slower than him, but during Nathan Weissel's little straighten up there and back into it, the angle did not change on Bo Yates' front wheels. He pedalled it on. I don't even think there was any handbrake in there, possibly a little bit of foot brake to keep that angle out there. And Nathan putting together a very good run towards the rest of it, but watch this here. He is out there and on lock while Nathan's just doing his little bobbles back, and that is exactly why Yates deserves that win there.
We would have been up against him once or twice in the past, Yates and Nathan Weissel, so good to see Nathan back. Hopefully we can see more of him in the Hi-Tec Drift All-Stars.
Yeah, Karsgeff definitely got the power and the setup. I want to see him out there driving it and really nailing it, getting up that ladder. Good on you, Weissel.
Moving forward, Scott Shemry, reigning champ on the track. And Glenn Ormerod, you just can't help but wonder how far he can progress up against the more modern style cars.
I just love seeing this little thing screaming its head off through a little carby, trying to chase down a 400 kilowatt SR20 like it ain't no thing. You know, he's out there and he's actually putting the effort in, and he's keeping some pace up with Shemry. I'd be a little bit nervous being out there though after hearing the pit interview of this being Treno's last trip out and saying pretty much straight up, yeah, looking to write this thing off. So it's going to be some hard driving tonight.
Well, Shemry was pretty much clip to clip on that first one. Slight advantage from the judges, so they're impressed with Ormerod's chase run, which means Shemry can't afford to go 2 laps when it's his turn to chase. His dream of backing up last year's championship, well, there's still a chance. He needs to pull back some points on those two Toyota A6s though pretty quickly.
And that's the interesting thing about drifting being a judged motorsport, Chad, is that as much as there was a bit of a speed difference between the two cars, the judges take that into account that, that little Corolla might even make a third or a quarter of the power of Scott Shembry's car. So it makes it all the more impressive that Glenn Ormerod was able to keep up with Scott Shembry, a driver who has a lot of experience under his belt. Little clip there, and that would be looked on more harshly by the judges than a car falling behind, because the chase car should be doing everything they can to modulate their speed and chase the car in front, where Glenn Ormerod, he was diving in there, but Scott Shembry diving in a little too hard and making contact.
Will the judges penalise him for it? No, Shembry goes through. Despite that moment, that was a near miss.
Yeah, I can side with them on that, because as much as there was a dive in, it really didn't upset the line of either cars, and Shembry well and truly stayed into it to make that happen.
Well, the judges ruling that Ormerod probably played a part in that one as well, and that is why Scott Shembry has managed to progress. Just watch Ormerod here out the window, absolutely loving it.
Scott Shembry, that was a pretty interesting run. A bit of contact at the end there as well.
Yeah, no, actually surprised me the speed of the Corolla. Like, congrats to him, man. He put out a killer lead run to get on him. Yeah, it was pretty surprising, but good driving by him. Just glad to get through. We had a massive week for the boys. Just good to get through the next round, and hopefully we got Brad Toohey next, and it's going to be a big championship battle.
Pretty nuts that motor was in pieces on, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday night, a bare block, putting a lot of work in to get that car there. The boys at Matooks really turned it on.
Okay, after his best qualifying performance with the Shannon's logo on the door, what has Joel Goff got for us? Can he move up through the ranks tonight? We haven't seen him go too many rounds in the past. Oh, bring it back, Joel, bring it back.
Yeah, didn't quite get that there. You can see him, I wouldn't class it as an understeer, but coming through onto that bottom straight, not quite getting the angle that he wanted, and then reinitiating there possibly on the clutch, just threw that rear end out a lot further than expected, and then to wrestle that out, you lose all your speed and Cerrone is past.
What a shame. This is exactly what he couldn't afford to have happen. He called it well, Dave. That's exactly what happened to him, and Joel will be frustrated with that after getting it right in qualifying.
So watch the front wheels here. So he's turning in, and then that bang, snap straight out to lock.
Good catch.
Yeah, definitely caught him. That car's got a lot of lock, but you got to watch those turbo cars climbing up onto power and wheel speeding you like that.
So it's advantage Cerrone. A considerable advantage. Let's just watch Joel's handwork here.
I'm more watching the boost gauge down at the bottom of the screen. Look at it go, whoop, whoop, he's on it.
Pushing hard, but knows that he's got a bit of a mountain to climb here. Plenty of RPM. Oh, Cerrone balks almost a little bit, and off comes the bumper. No contact. I think that would probably be just because of the big bump. That's the exit of the bottom corner. It should be enough for Cerrone to power on through here.
Yeah, loosely fitted fiberglass is what the drifting's all about. You'd rather it be safely deposited on the infield than ripped to shreds underneath your car.
Wow, and Goff earning himself a rerun here.
Yeah, despite that mistake earlier on, everywhere else, both in this run and the last run, he's really stepped up his driving tonight. Goff is killing it.
Gee, he did a good job to pull that back. Judges smiling down on him, and we'll send these two round again. Massive get out of jail card for Joel Goff. Can he send the Shannon's car through the top 8? It'd be deserved, given how well he qualified tonight. Can Steve Cerrone stick it to the doors?
Lots of pedal work through the infield there, trying to get every little piece of traction. Goff blazing out on that outside straight, possibly even a gear grab there, signalled by that big backfire. Oh, the thing just sings, doesn't it?
Plenty of noise, plenty of smoke, plenty of angle. Judges on the Achilles radial replay says advantage Goff. Let's stay connected. Shannon's entry, trying to stay in the field tonight. Steve Cerrone will now take the lead. See if he can bring that back. That was a pretty good lead run, and yeah, there's that big flash of flame as he did grab a gear down the bottom. Pretty powerful lead run though.
100%, lots of lock, lots of smoke, and really, nailing a couple of those lines there. So Cerrone's got his work cut out for him out in front here in that Adventure Time 180SX, and I just can't help but giggle at. I love that car.
Oh, Goff overcooks it.
looks like the same mistake again there, just not quite expecting as much wheel speed as he got there, but he's staying into it for the boys!
Well, he's going to bake a set off at least. Steve Cerrone will march on through. Have a look at the smoke plume that's left in the top part of the racetrack from Joel Goff, who let off a bit of steam, so to speak.
See, I don't know if the judges give any points for smoke, but I really do. I mean, if you're out there and you make a mistake, just get on it. Come on, it's what we want to see.
He was given a reprieve, got the rerun, let it go. By his own harsh standards, he'll be disappointed, Joel Goff, especially after that mega lead run. And when he gets it right, he's going to be a pretty powerful combo because he has such a good-looking outfit. The car is well presented, as well as being engineered well. Once he gets the driving down pat, he's improving rapidly. Joel Goff will be a force to be reckoned with as we see the championship leader on track, and Benny Meir is no slouch either.
Yeah, Ben really put a good chase run in earlier on, and he's nailing it behind Tui as well. Those switchbacks really nicely timed. Little dab of the handbrake there, down a gear, and then onto the bottom straight. Coming out onto the top straight, little handbrake, but stays with his gear selection there. Tui seems to have put on a bit of a distance as a result in that twin supercharged V8 powered 8.6.
Yes, that is a handbrake that he's pulling there. Looks like some trapdoor lever. It's massive. And unfortunately for Benny Meir, not enough to steal the advantage here. He'll have a chance to win it back though when it's his turn to lead. That is a big power run from the Achilles Radials 8.6 out front.
Man, it is really a serious machine. When that sentence came out of my mouth before, twin supercharged V8 8.6, that's got to be the only one on the planet, right?
Makes you smirk. Here we go. Let's see Tui fighting for a championship. Can he stick with Meir and march on through to the top 8? Good run so far. Nice. Gave Meir the room he needed to transition. And this is where the power helps up the hill. Right there. Look at that. Barely a car length in between the two of them.
How effortless was the half throttle gear grab? Just threw it into the next gear and on. You know, Tui's just playing with Ben Meir at this point. I mean, no fault of Ben's. He's driving really well out in front, but it's just outclassed by the level of power and grip under that 8.6.
How well set up is this car? And you get a real idea for the balance and how in control he is watching his onboards. Effortless is the word.
Single-handed chuck around, and I mean, that's no small feat when you're going from lock to lock to lock through that infield section. Let's see how it felt down in the pits.
Brad Tui, you are showing us exactly why you are number one in the championship.
Thanks for that. Look, to be honest, Ben did a killer chase run, so I knew I had to give it everything on that chase, and yeah, come off pretty good, yeah.
Your doors were so close. We had an awesome in-car shot of that as well, and it must be pretty cool to see that from your point of view.
Yeah, it's awesome from my point of view, and it's great that we've got the in-car, so all the crowd here can see it as well, and I'm glad I could share it with everyone.
Ever humble, and he's got the complete package to go the distance this year. He's going through the top 8. Okay, Rob Arbolino now in that Hi-Tec Nissan. Greg Merriman with a bit of work to do.
Yeah, just two run-of-the-mill street cars here out on the figure 8, you know, and two big turbos hanging out the bottom, out of the bonnet of that Hi-Tec Oils 350Z with an LS V8 under the bonnet there, up against one of Greg's mates' daily drivers. What a good bloke. I mean, I bet he was absolutely biting his nails. He's on the sideline somewhere tonight watching the car he has to drive home and then to work on Monday, go up against one of the highest horsepower drift cars in this series. And got the advantage too.
Wow. So the judges happy with that chase run from Greg Merriman, taking into account probably the fact that this is a street car that could quite literally turn left there, go out the gate, do a Macca's run on the way home. This is a street car through and through. The judges like what they see there.
Now let's see the position switch. Merriman out in front there. Rob already putting a little dent in the rear corner up onto the straight. I mean, come on, man.
Rob Arbolino doesn't care if it's a street car. He is here to win tonight. Merriman qualified a long way down to that number 17 spot.
I guess that's what they've got in common. Both of them out there driving, not actually owning the car that they're in, but I think one of them's a lot more cautious about what's going to be happening tonight. overcooking that a little bit, going to the outside of the sweeper. As much as the power made up for it, I don't know how that's going to look. Merriman really put together a tidy lead run.
Not too surprised to see that we're headed to a rerun. These two cars difficult to split, and the spin on the Achilles radial replays, we just check it out down the bottom end of the corner, happening at the top end after the finish line. So for Rob Arbolino, that is okay. You're allowed to lose control after you go through the finish. You can see the boards just there.
Pretty lucky. I mean, if that had over-rotated just a fraction earlier, that would have been enough to tip that advantage to Merriman.
Number one qualifier, back to the point. Oh, and that's intentional right there from Arbolino, trying to open up a lead. Knows what he's up against. Knows I can gap him up the straight.
The question is, though, will that lead actually help him? Because as we've seen in the earlier run as well, look at how much Merriman has closed that down through the center section of the track. Because those tight switchbacks, what are you going to do with power other than pedal it? It's all about the grip of the chassis. And, you know, sometimes it can be harder in these high horsepower cars because they just want to sit there and blaze instead of actually put that traction down and go.
Another good chase run for Merriman, but this time it's advantage Arbolino. Couldn't quite claw it back as much as he did in that first run through. On a rerun, the drivers have to go straight back around to the start line. There's no time for changing tyres. If there's another rerun called for, they will get a chance to duck into the pits, throw on a fresh set and head back out.
And that's going to be interesting because as much as the judges' advantage here was with Arbolino, the tyre advantage is definitely with Greg Merriman now, as in that lower powered car, he wouldn't have put anywhere near as much wear on the rear tyres. So is Arbolino going to have the grip he needs to really stick a good chase run here for the second time round tonight?
Let's see if our number one qualifier can bully the man who qualified down the order in 17th, or can Merriman cause a huge upset? Those big hair dryers sticking through the bonnet. This thing is a beast.
Oh, a little bit wide there, but not quite onto the dirt. It's hard to see from that angle, but I think that might have actually been the line that the judges were looking for. I might have called that incorrectly. It was right up to the outside of the corner there, but big flames through this S14.
And we'll see them once more. So Achilles radial replay showing that the judges can't split them over two runs. These boys will have another chance to duke it out on the figure eight. Man, Rob Arbolino having to work for this one. There's the flames at the back of street registered car. That is cool. Ready to go. Hi-Tec Oils back out in front with Rob Arbolino.
Yeah, again pulling that drag race up the straight there. Let's see if Greg is able to shorten that distance once again through the infield. Being left behind this time around, I've got a feeling Arbolino chucked some fresh tyres on there because this 350Z seems to have picked up a lot of speed, and that's shown by how much these two cars are separated into that top sweep there. It was much closer last time around, Chad.
Yeah, finally we're seeing a separation between the two. Those first two runs were almost identical, but finally Arbolino stretches his legs in the 350Z and takes a sizable advantage, you'd have to say, over Merriman. That'll take some turning around from there.
As much as from, you know, the lounge at home, you might look at this drifting and think maybe it's hard to split every time you watch it. You know, there are key moments throughout here with a keen eye that you can often pick the mistakes of each driver and tally it up. And, you know, that's what the judges are doing up in the tower, is giving each driver a score out of 10 and getting that average down. And it's really interesting in runs like this that, yes, you might pick the odd thing here and there, but it's the perfect balance between the good points and the bad points of both these drivers that is making them run again and again and again. And, you know, if it's required and the judges can't split it, we can be here all night for this sort of stuff. But I've got a feeling that on this third time round, that's what's going to separate them.
Rob Arbolino with an almost identical chase run to the last couple. As a result, given the advantage that he had earlier, when he was the lead driver, he'll march on through to the top eight. But wow, Merriman made him earn it tonight. And that is one of the best performances we've seen from what is essentially a street registered car. Congratulations to our number one qualifier. Arbolino goes on through.
Greg Merriman definitely brought it to me. You know, for a street car, he drove that car awesome, and he definitely had speed behind him, which I struggled with. A bit too much smoke off the tyres means a slow car. So, yeah, on to the next round.
So the top 8 are locked and loaded, and Arbolino's reward, well, he'll have a date with a former champ in James Abbott. Brad Toohey, championship lead, will have Abbott's teammate in Scott Shemry. Steve Cerrone marches on through against Ant Billick, and it's White and Yates in that final matchup. The top 8, it's headed our way here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Don't go anywhere. Rolling on through to the top 8, Hi-Tec Drift All-Stars, round number 4. This is going to be Battle of the Achilles wildcards. Bo Yates working some heat into the rear tyres, headed around to the start line. And for Rob White,
You can see him playing around there with the shifter inside, giving it a couple of revs. I'd say that's some sort of gearbox issue, which isn't good. I mean, didn't even seem to initiate it for that burnout there, but possibly a little clutch drop. I don't know, maybe stripping the input shaft or doing something to the gearbox there. But for him to be selecting gears and revving and getting nothing, I'd say it is maybe an input shaft, not something inside the box. But that's not looking good for Rob White. I mean, you do get a 5-minute rule to repair these things, but I don't know about you. I can't even rip out a small front-wheel drive gearbox in 5 minutes, let alone one of the big boys you'd put behind a NASCAR V8. So getting the recovery vehicles out there and towing them off.
Controversy already then in the top 8. Let's hear from Bo Yates.
The Achilles Radial 370, he said he's got a box full of neutrals, so I'm not sure I'll give him all the time he needs to get it fixed or whatever. We'll just go see he's got 5 minutes or 10 minutes to fix it. He can have mine, whatever. So hopefully he can get it fixed and we can get out and put on a show for the people standing around waiting.
We hope we can see that too.
No worries, cheers.
No issues grabbing a gear for Bo's car as he plugs first and moves on back to the pits. And what a shame that is. We'll keep the action going out on track. Very sporting from Bo Yates to try and at least wait for Rob White, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Brad Toohey and Scott Shemry. Gee, last year's champion up against this year's championship leader.
What a race up the straight there as well. I mean, judges said early on that the chase cars were allowed to take a narrow line, but yeah, geez, big dive across the midfield there as well for Scott Shemry. Battle of the Bake across the bottom.
Hugely aggressive stuff from Scott Shemry. Putting his nose in there. Oh, and a problem mid-corner.
Not quite sure what's happened there. Was there contact with the back of Toohey's car?
Here we go, replay once again.
So here they're separated.
All good first time around. Shemry not making it all the way through. There was that moment there where he dived in. Now, did he break something there in that little dive? From Toohey's point of view, there was maybe a bit of contact, maybe.
I think it's here we're going to see it though. Watch the front corner of Scott's car. Ooh. I don't know what's happened there. I was thinking maybe that oil cooler got contacted or something like that, but let's try have a look from onboard. It's just snapped around, but is that a... Yeah, there's a trail of oil behind that car there. The oil cooler did look a little bent on that front brush bar as well, and absolutely gutted for Scott Shemry. I mean, that's a motor that was in pieces through the week. Hopefully caught it in time with that drop of oil pressure, because that is enough to kill even the most freshly built motor.
Wow, what a shame. You could see the look on his face as he took a lie down on the hill. He knows that could be expensive. At the very least, it'll probably cost him the championship. The dream of back-to-back could be over, something that his teammate James Abbott couldn't quite achieve last year. We're right on board with him right now as he chases Rob Arbolino through. After a couple of reruns for Arbolino, it's been a big night.
Yeah, really cool view of the Hi-Tec car going through that sweeper as well. I mean, it gives you an appreciation for the amount of smoke these cars are pouring off, doing some very fast burnouts on a very small circuit. Rob all over the steering wheel there, trying to get as much of a distance out in front as he could, but Jabbett diving in right at the end of the run. Still an advantage for Arbolino from the judges though, doing enough out in front. Bit of extra speed, seemed to be, hitting those corners just that little bit earlier than James Abbott, who was switching back just a fraction later. But I mean, it was a really, really good chase run from James Abbott as well. So I'm interested to see the position switched.
Well, we'll see it right now as the Blaze unit entry goes to the point.
That Hi-Tec thing just blows the tyres off so easily. Trying to accelerate up the straight there, it just broke into a roll on him in what would have had to be third gear.
Bit of dust kicked up. That's on the shallow line through the transition. Wide to the exit. And Arbolino really wide and almost off the road.
I don't know, possibly there's something going on in the rear end alignment of the 350Z or you know, maybe having tyre issues or something, but that car just seems to be really down on speed and grip tonight, and not for a lack of trying from Rob Arbolino.
That is on the clip, if not to the clip. Just wonder if there was a little bit of liquid down in this part of the track as well. Looks slippery. Pushing it to the limits there, Rob Arbolino. Let's catch up though with Jabbett's teammate.
Scott Shembry, it's been a very difficult day for you. Talk us through what happened up.
We're pushing hard. That was pretty much a championship battle. So just on the transition, I clipped Brad obviously, and he got my oil cooler, but I didn't know until I came to the last corner when it was all over my window. So I think we cooked the motor too, which we just built 2 days ago. So been a pretty hard week, but we'll be back next year.
We're back next year, and always with that smile on your face, which is fantastic to see.
As drifting is what we do. You know, we come out here and put our cars on the line every round. So we'll be out next time and do it again.
Heartbreaking stuff, and also bad news for Steve Cerrone, unable to front for his top 8 matchup against Ant Billick. So Billick marches on through to the top 4, and we are marching through there right now. Hi-Tec Drift All-Stars, top 4, round 4, and this is going to be big because some big names have made it through, including the top 2 in the points. Here is the man who's second. It's Bo Yates up against James Abbott doing the chasing in the Blaze unit Nissan.
So both of these battles are actually pretty crucial, because unless Yates and Tui end up facing each other for the battle for the top spot, it's really going to open up a points gap either way. Who knows who's going to get through here? So this is crucial for Bo Yates to knock out James Abbott, and he's probably banking on maybe Billick knocking out Tui as well, or it could go the other way. It's really all on the table in these final battles.
These are must-win battles. Not a bad leader on this one from Bo Yates. And that's fair from the judges in the Achilles radial replay. Slight advantage. James Abbott, nice chase run, sticking to the back of the Toyota 86. All that horsepower.
I mean, lots of speed out of Jabbett tonight, and I mean, both of these cars JZ powered, and there might be maybe a 100 kilowatt difference, but that still puts James Abbott's car up around the 400 kilowatt mark. So both cars really moving. Let's see how Bo Yates goes out in the chase, while Jabbett trying to get as much speed as he can up into this top sweeper.
We've seen the lead car go too high through that middle clip tonight. If anything, the chase cars have been going out there quite wide.
Yeah, interesting one. The judges were definitely talking about wanting everyone to use the outside of that track, so I'm unsure whether they're trying to shoot for more speed, because as you take that shallower line, you really rocket down into the bottom of the corner. But
a perfect example then, actually.
Yeah, Jabbett really low down in the line while Yates was up top, and if you see that reversed, it makes for tight battling, but when the lead car is the one on the lower line, it just looks a bit weird.
Well, this is huge for the championship. Out of the battle goes Bo Yates. James Abbott marches through to the final. And boy, oh boy, could that have championship ramifications if Brad Tui gets through next. Now, meanwhile, Ant Billick, we're hearing, is having engine trouble, so they've given him the 5-minute rule.
Yeah, I think a couple of issues there with the charging system or something electrical there. He just couldn't quite get the car started. We saw him rolling up, trying to get into that dummy grid position, but the car not really go. So Billick having issues there, and that's put Tui straight through to the final. What an upset there.
Well, here is Billick back in the pits. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to front either for his top 3 matchup against Bo Yates. So, gee, this is sensational. Yates will take third here. Unfortunately, it will be a bye run. Billick on his way out early, and Tui goes through to the final. So, wow, this has been shaken up on its head. A war of attrition here tonight from the top 8 onwards.
Yeah, and that points gap now is really determined by whether or not James Abbott is able to keep Brad Tui down in second position. But if Tui out in the lead here, drives like he has been all night and gets on top of the podium, that's going to mean a big points gap to our current second position leader, really, is Bo Yates.
And this is the final battle of the night. Snuck up on us quite quickly in the end, but this is for the trophies. This is big for Brad Tui's championship. Can he extend it out even further here? Good chase run from James Abbott, right with him. Good angle though from Brad Tui, and that will be tight in front of the judges.
Man, both times into that sweeper, James Abbott is diving in there. You see it from the onboard. Look at him just going for that driver's door, really with Tui the whole way there. And as they switch back through the centre, the little 8.6 might have dived away a little bit, but then onto the bottom straight again. Lost in a bit of a smoke show, but Abbott right there with him, really pushing for speed and an aggressive chase run behind what was a very aggressive lead run.
Achilles radial replay. Very, very tight. Remember, we don't get to see who has the advantage in the final. It's all about who climbs up and does the job without knowing. Geez, shallow line through there for Jabbett. Tui emulated it.
Jabbett's chase was close, but I'd say Tui's was closer on the sweeper and a spin.
Tui throws it away in a cloud of dust. James Abbott will win the night. And this could be the difference between keeping the championship alive. Jab it all the way out. That dirt drop won't hurt because he is the victor here tonight for round 4. Returning to the form that won him a championship 2 seasons ago. And you'd have to say that somewhere Bo Yates is just quietly smiling.
How close was that chase there initially? And then Tui just overcooking it there and staying into the power, hoping that Wisefab front end was going to be able to pull him out of that infield dive, but it just was not enough here. Nice and close. And then it's this switch here. Watches it, whips back around. He's full lock the other way, but just overpowers it on the rear end there. Possibly a bit of excitement. So that will keep the gap nice and close between Bo Yates and Brad Tui. James Abbott obviously excited to get a podium position tonight as he was down around, I think, 6th place earlier on.
Man, that is huge.
James Abbott, congratulations on your first place win today. What a fantastic effort.
Yeah, a bit speechless. I haven't really been feeling it tonight, to be honest. I've been down on energy, and I've had a little pep talk from my friend Morgan in the pits, and she's I made a promise to her that I'd win for her, so it's for you, Morgs. The car, to be honest, I was pretty lucky with, for poor Brad battling with a bent front end. He was pushing it uphill that whole time, and I think he did pretty well. And just to get through that last corner, my car was actually breaking down as we crossed the finish line. So if we went one more time, I don't know if I would have made it. So a dream result.
He's back in the winner's circle. Hi-Tec Drift All-Stars points look like this now. And he's moved all the way to 4th of that win, just behind his teammate, who unfortunately had those dramas. Brad Tui extends that championship lead. It was just 1 point coming into round 4, and it's looking a little bit more comfortable now. Time to get out there and enjoy, well, the spoils of glory, I suppose you could say here, Dave. This is how we like to celebrate.
Yeah, the ladder is tight coming out of round 4 and into round 5, the final. And with the mechanical failures that we saw tonight and the rate of attrition throughout that series, I mean, this is sure to be on the table, guys. Spinning spanners right up to the last minute to try and get it there.
Dave, it's been another big night here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Thanks for joining us. We're looking forward to the final. Who is going to win the Hi-Tec Drift All-Stars?